Pulled the RX-7 in today. I'm going to change those fuel lines out that became all nastified. So the first thing you need to do is kill any hornets that moved into your project. I got some nice little guys decided to move into my hood scoop. What you think, Cat? Should we light these guys with fire? Yeah. What you think, bud? We get them? Then the next step is to find all the black widow nests that moved in, because of course they live down here too. And you spray these suckers. Yeah, I got a hole in the floor I need to work on. Oh, he's getting away. There he goes. Not today, Mr. Black Widow. Cat, get out of here. You don't want any of this, bud. Oh, look at him. There's another big nest over on the other side I gotta fry, so I'm gonna spray all these black widows and then goof off for about an hour because I want to make sure they're dead. What you think, Cat? You watching the poison drip everywhere? Yeah, don't get any ideas. Fuel lines are out and I've got a pretty basic setup. I've gone over it in other videos when I installed this. This is my fuel tank, so I've got my focus on the right stuff. So over there on the left, I'm not going to stick my hand in there, is where it comes from the tank. I've got my feet in my return, and they go all the way around along the frame rail to the fuel pressure filter regulator combo. And then I just have one feed line, comes up to a Y block, splits it, and then goes to both fuel rails. Then on the fuel rails, they're tied together in the front with this crossover tube. So I've got pressure coming in on both ends, so it just pressurizes the whole rail as one. To me, that makes more sense than coming in one side and blocking off the other side, because you would think that you would starve whatever the end cylinders are, but I don't know if that's true or not. I've never really tested it. Y block to both back ones and then connect the fronts, and it seems to work just fine. So here's my replacement parts. I got a bunch of Summit and Aeroquip fittings, and those should be 2 boxes of Teflon lined fuel line from Summit. 6AN PFTE stainless steel braided. Should be black nylon braided. The stainless steel is just embedded in the rubber. Always make sure you cut it open with a knife so you can slit your fuel line, make it weaker. I mean, what's life without a little bit of fire every now and then? Oh. And it's actual stainless line. Well, I wanted black, but I guess we'll live with that. Pretty sure I ordered black. I don't know. So there you can see the PTFE / Teflon liner. So this shouldn't deteriorate like my other cheap Chinese crap, because I'm sure this is probably made in China too if it's Summit. So now I'm going to go ahead and duplicate my exact setup. I'm going to reuse the filter regulator, reuse the Y block. Everything else is trash. For the 90-degree fittings, there's the Summit part number. Make sure it's the PTFE part that you're getting. I went with steel fittings this time instead of aluminum. They're supposed to be reusable easier, but when you take these apart, watch out for the little bushing. That guy. So I like to leave my tape on and slide the fitting over the tape. Otherwise, you'll stab the crap out of yourself, which you're probably going to stab yourself anyways, but makes it a little easier. Pull the tape off gently. I find it's better to pull the tape in line with the line instead of away from the line. It just keeps the steel braiding from fraying. And a lot of times they'll separate a little bit on their own like this when you cut them with a cutoff wheel instead of cutters. And then you don't have to do anything. So slide the bushing in. You want to make sure you don't get any of the little steel braidings between the bushing and the Teflon. So when it looks good, like that, the Teflon seats up against the top of the bushing. There's like a little step in there. Then take your other fitting, lubricate that end. And then you're gently going to roll it in there. You'll feel it when it slides in. There shouldn't be any, see how it's just barely taking any pressure? The thing about Teflon is it's got a really high burst rating, but it's really bad with being scratched or nicked or gouged or cut. It's just not strong at all, but it's not what you're buying it for. So then once you're screwed together, make sure you push things together while you're screwing them. Once it kind of catches, it should be good. A couple 3/4 inch wrenches. So on these, some of the manufacturers specify a gap right here. You usually don't want to butt these up against each other. Summit usually says, I think it's 30 thousandths on their website, but if it feels tight, stop, because you're probably tight. You don't need to completely smash this thing down. So here's an example of an end that didn't cut cleanly. There's a couple little barbs on there, so just trim them up with some side cutters or something. This end gets a straight end. Summit fittings were out of stock, so I got AeroQuip. There's the AeroQuip part number. Same thing, steel fittings. Same process as the 90 degree. So if your liner doesn't separate from it, from the outer steel sleeve, just take something non-metallic and very gently work it around the edge. You don't need to take much pressure at all to do this. AeroQuip are a little bit different, I guess. They've got the brass insert for this piece instead of steel. Or it might be bronze, it's a slightly different color. It's definitely not steel. And here's what I end up with after making some lines. So it's basically the exact same setup I had, just made out of lines that hopefully won't set me on fire. So I'm going to toss this in the car, install the filter regulator again, and then run my lines from the tank to the regulator, and then cut them and put the ends on under the car. Connected the lines to the tank, ran them through down to the floor. One little kind of upgrade I did was I took the original, this was the cover plate for the Mazda fuel tank, so you can change the fuel pump without dropping the whole tank. So took that, drilled 2 holes for grommets, ran these through that. It's got loosely bolted in there right now. One other fix I need to do was when I first installed this fuel cell, this was my vent tube, which being a open cockpit car, it's not the safest, obviously. It's never meant to be permanent. So I'm gonna bend this. I just have 3/8 copper tube, well, nickel copper tube, and this fuel line I had stuck on here. So I'm gonna bend 180 into this so it vents outside where the gas tank used to be. So if you've wondered if one of these style of tubing flares is a good investment, definitely is. I had the little cheap one before. I used that one for years. It drove me crazy trying to do tubing. This one, it's just about idiot proof. So all you do is stick it on operation 1, which sets your tubing depth. Snug that a little bit. Run that down, that sets your stick out. Tighten this up. Then you go to whatever size tubing you're doing. I'm doing 3/8, so you go to operation 1. You go to 3/8 operation 2. Now you got a perfect double flare. Looks like we'll put a hole right about there. This is what we look like up under the car. Here's my new vent tube hanging down here. And it's kind of in this space where the gas tank used to be, so there shouldn't be too much airflow. If you have a lot of airflow near your vent tube or anything like this, what can happen is that it can suck, in this case it shouldn't suck fuel out, but if it's near the fuel it can actually start sucking fuel, or if it's your vent for like a rear diff, you can suck your fluid out of your diff. But since it's up in this space, it should be good. I'll keep an eye on it and I'll move it if I need to. With this rubber piece I can just extend like a rubber hose anywhere I need to. These are the fuel lines. I ran them up where the stock fuel lines run and kind of followed the stock lines right there up above all the suspension, so it's not touching and hanging on anything. So fuel system's upgraded. So now it should be good to continue setting this car up now that I'm a little bit safer. And I did pick up some aluminum so I can make an enclosure back here, because this, besides being unsafe, no track is going to let you run like this. Not with the open fuel cell and an open car like this. You have to have some type of usually they specify like a metal barrier. So I'm going to make it's just thin aluminum, 40 thousandths. I'll make a sheet over this. I'll make 2 braces on the front and back. And I'll probably use Zeus fasteners to connect it all. That way it's removable, because this is the only way to fill the gas up. So that's it for today.